Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Thinker and the Joker. More observations and more funnies. How are you, Reda?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good. Beautiful weather outside here. I don't know how it's like over there in your neck of the woods.
It's actually really shit today. Bad weather.
Oh, shit.
But wait, just aesthetically now, are you able to shift your camera a bit to, I think, the left? Because you're very, yeah. Unless
Like
you want,
this?
okay, if you're happy to sit like that the whole time.
Yeah, I can put it a bit higher, like this.
As long
Is
as
that
you're
good?
centered. As long as
Yeah.
you're centered.
I'm pretty center. I'm a center kind of guy.
Yeah, you're middle of the roader, huh? You
Yeah,
never-
yeah.
you
Middle,
never taken
everything. Middle brother.
Oh, yeah. Actually, middle children. I'm a middle child too. And
Nice.
I always think we're in a very unique position. I don't know.
We are politically and strategically. It's not a very good way. It's like it's the equivalent in NBA or in etc. as not being in the first round of picks on the drafts, or the middle person will not get potentially the extreme attention or careful or slight favoritism to the first child who was there from before, and potentially not as much as the last child, because once the last child comes in, you're the last child until the last child comes in, right? Then after that, it's
Well, you're nothing special as a middle child, because the first child is always, he's the firstborn. Like, it was such a great occasion, the first time they go to the hospital, the first time they do everything.
Yeah.
The second one, it's novel while it lasts, but then it's like they've already been through it. And normally the last child is the one where, like, they kind of, maybe they know it's going to be the last child, and it's like, then they're more relaxed about it. They know what to expect and everything.
Yeah, potentially it's also like, this is the last one we can get right. We have to pay way more attention to the last child.
The way I see it is the last child, they're like, they've tried really hard to create the perfect child, which is the first one. Then the second one, they maybe they learn from their mistakes, and with the third one, they're like, forget it. Let's just make sure that he's happy. We don't care, whatever happens, just give him whatever he wants, because it's not worth the effort. They turn out well anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This one's gonna be raised by his brothers.
Yeah, maybe. No, the last child is the one that gets bullied by the brothers, but then they always go to the parents and complain.
Yeah, the snitch.
They've got the parents. Protection the most, because they feel maybe they're the most vulnerable, because there's 2 or 3 older siblings that might take advantage.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. But I don't mind, to be honest. I didn't mind the middle child at times, because it kind of got me away with a few things. I thought, the strictness went maybe on the youngest child, because the youngest one isn't allowed to do as much things as the older children. And potentially the older child is like, better. Like, if all 3 of us break something, it's like, the oldest child, better. And then the young child, you should not be listening to your brothers. You should be speaking to me before you go do what they say. The middle child is just like, I was just there. I was a witness.
That's the thing. I think the middle child gets a taste of both worlds. They largely get ignored as well, like you said, that the blame either goes on the older one, or the attention goes to the little one. They get ignored, so I think maybe in some ways they become more independent. They can adapt more, because they either hang out with younger or older people as well. I don't know about you, but I have friends of all ages and sizes and looks and all, and I find it very easy to adapt to different people.
But we're the equivalent of a size large t-shirt or size medium t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like, we'll fit the slightly chubbier guys that think they can still fit in a medium. and will fit the skinny guys, even though it'll be a bit loose and comfortable. You know,
So,
there's
yeah,
no slightly chubby guy getting a small. There is no way that's happening.
yeah, definitely. But you know what? One type of like person I struggle, or I think maybe everyone struggles with, is the only child.
Oh yes, yeah. You know, my daughter is an only child, and most probably that's going to be the case. You know, like she's
Yeah.
just going to be one. But I always wondered, like, how she sees everything. You know what I mean? Like, is it because we don't? I wouldn't say that she's overly spoiled or anything like that. You know, obviously, you know, we like to buy her things and make her happy and get her things, etc. But there's two things I learned about children, and the way not to spoil them is if they really, really, really want something, they'll annoy you a lot more about it. If they tell you they want something, a lot of the time by the next day they don't want it. So don't fall in the trap of just getting them something when they want something when you get there. Wait until they really, really, really want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted. But
yeah, well, yeah, the lonely child. Yeah, it's true. I'm potentially more sensitive as well. They can turn out to be.
I think one skill they definitely lack is the ability to deal with confrontation or or problems when it comes to other people. So growing up, I had like countless fights with my older brother and sometimes my younger siblings as well. And part of growing up is you learn that there's other people that want different things, and you learn techniques, tactics, and principles in dealing with solving those issues. And I think or only children miss out on that because they never have those serious confrontations, because it can also get physical with your siblings. And when they grow up, they've missed out on a whole. I mean, it doesn't apply to all single children. Some of them could be raised properly, or they go to clubs after school.
Or maybe they have cousins as well that they're very close to.
But the ones that don't, they're quite isolated. They miss out on that skill, and I think they learn it much later in life, or they never learn it. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. You notice it as well when someone is a lonely child, and you see, like, you know what, this guy has a bit of a personality where if I had to guess, I would have said he doesn't have any siblings. He hasn't had that human socializing contact where, you know what, you don't win every fight. It's okay. Sometimes you do. Sometimes arguments, you're on the losing side. Don't be so stubborn. Like, even stubbornness, those kind of characteristics sometimes, jealousy maybe, that comes out a lot more with single kids, I think, than kids that have siblings and that learned how to share and things like that. Even that, you notice it with younger kids as well. In like where my wife works in the school, in the play school. You see the kids that are kind of, only childs are kind of a bit more, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, or etc. Because they're used to having everything, right?
That's right. But also, there's when you have siblings, I think your parents force you to share things. When you're an only child, you don't have to, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll take the only child way. I'm kidding. No. But no, in a funny world, it's like it wouldn't. How to call it? It'd be like, imagine being an only child for a certain amount of years, like 17 years before then you got a brother, and it's like
Well,
I don't know what you think
when you're 17 years.
No, I don't know. Yeah, true.
But then again, another thing that if being an only child or having siblings is, as a I'm a middle child, I always had things passed down to me. So clothes or toys.
Geez.
And everything.
The clothes as well. Like, I felt sorry for my younger brother because it passed down to him some of the stuff. And it's like, oh man, I was wearing this out of fashion for 4 years. He was wearing it for a decade. It's like he was retro. I wasn't retro.
I guess an only child is lucky that everything they get is new.
Yeah, exactly, man. It gets tested on him. But at the same time, anything that doesn't quite work out, like, the clothes that your parents made you wear as well. It's kind of like he would he had to do it first. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like he goes through it first, realizes it's wrong, and then you have to get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, no, I don't notice that many changes, like in terms of Layla, in terms of her growing up alone. Like I said, she's absolutely happy. She's not a demanding kid. She's not a person that would she doesn't get that much anxiety or angry or like wants things or a jealousy or things like that. There is none of that in Layla. She does do this thing though that like really annoys me. Nothing to do with the fact that she's an only child, but she's got a really good sense of humor. She'll make a few really, really good jokes, right? And the only problem is when you laugh at her jokes, and they are sometimes really funny. Like once I told her something like, relax, Layla, it's a joke. And she's like, Dad, you're a joke. And I'm like, oh, Layla, my God, that's amazing. And I'm like, geez, you burned me. And I'm like, respect, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, for the next hour, it was like, hey, Dad. I'm like, yeah, you're a joke. I'm like, okay, Layla, we get it. It was funny the first time. And then it would be like for another hour the same joke.
Okay. Yeah.
I realize kids, like, they come up with the best sense of humor, but they milk jokes all the time.
That's the problem, right? They have to learn to exit the room on a high.
Yeah, man. Like that's it. And the other day I was like, I felt really bad because I'm like, Layla, just to let you know, you're very, very funny. Your comments made Daddy laugh a lot. But I said, if you repeat the joke all the time afterwards, it's less funny. And then she took it really bad, and I felt really bad because I upset my kid. I was trying to explain it nicely, like I wasn't trying to be mean about it. I was just teaching her a valuable joke lesson that, once you milk a joke for a long time, but then she felt bad. Like she's like, oh, so I shouldn't make jokes. I don't know how she worded it. I'm like, no, it's not that at all. Please continue making jokes. I take it back.
So maybe she's I don't know if she's clever enough, but she knows how to make you feel guilty about what you say.
I think she is,
Yeah.
She is, but kids don't know the consequences of that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, as you grow older, you're conscious that you could easily do that to someone, but then you're also conscious how it's going to make them feel if they really fall for it.
Yeah, okay.
When
and also you lose credibility if you get found out that you're manipulating someone.
Yeah, exactly. But with a kid, it's more like they do it really well. They do it better than adults because they have zero feelings towards it. They don't know the consequence of their actions yet. So they do it really well. They can manipulate feelings. It's like, the other day she comes to hug me. She's like, I just want to hug you. And I'm like, Layla, hug me, And then she's lying on my stomach. And then she's reaching for the tablet that was charging. And then she takes it. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm like, what's in your hand? The tablet. And I'm like, you came for the hug. I fell for it. I'm like, oh my God. My daughter just wants to hug you, just to take the tablet,
But what do you teach her in terms of like how she should approach, her life and her needs and her desires with relates to others? I don't know if it's even come up, but like subconsciously it might have. Like, do you teach her that, she should help others, or it's like, if you like someone, help him, but if you don't like someone, don't help him? Have you even? I mean, has it even come up or anything like that?
I try to balance it with I try to balance it with the things like that can make her do the right thing all the time, but also being smart a bit about things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tell her like, oh yeah, just help some random strangers. I'm like, but look, I always tell her when you're going to be a certain age, then you'll be able to do things like stay awake or etc. I'm like, but until then, you have to listen to mom and daddy. If it's past your bedtime, for example, or about brushing your teeth. I'm like, as long as you're thinking you have to brush your teeth. When you're older, if you don't want to brush your teeth one day and you forget the next day, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're old, you can make those decisions,
I was actually thinking about that the other day, right? About the whole idea that you need to look out for others, and how destructive it can be to your mindset psychologically.
That's a good point.
Well, let me like
If it's
expand on that.
super,
So
yeah.
first, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna talk about the principle, and then take an extreme example, and then we can talk about like regular people. But like let's say for example, a person accepts that it's their moral duty, to help, to give away their time or money to people who need it in an emergency situation, right? That they've said, okay, that's the right thing to do, right? I think it creates like an atmosphere of fear and hatred, and the reason is because if you've accepted that, then at any given moment, anyone who makes a mistake, loses something, fails, does something stupid, they can make a claim against you and say, okay, now you have to give something up and help me, right? So in some ways, you're like at the mercy of other people, because at any moment, this could happen, that they can, something can happen in their life, and you, by your duties, have to go help them, right?
Yeah.
And what makes it worse is like, if you've accepted this as your moral duty, it's something that, it's their right. They can demand this from you. It's not that you're being nice and kind. He's merely collecting his due from you,
But why is it? I know the term is moral duty, but I've always seen it figuratively. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. What do you mean? I mean,
like as in,
like no one's holding a gun to your head, right?
Like I choose to help or not help depending on my decision, depending on the case and the help and what I can do and what I can't do. And when I go into something to help someone, if something doesn't work out, I don't attach myself to the problem.
Yeah, but wait. So you're a regular person, right? And
okay.
First of all, I was talking about an extreme situation where someone's got principles, right? And he's following them properly, right? And then we could talk about like what most people do and how they live their lives. But if it is your duty, right, and it's a moral obligation to do this, you can't. Kindness is impossible in such a system, because by definition, kindness is voluntary. It's like you don't have to do something, but because you're kind, you do it.
Yeah.
But whereas if it's a duty, it's not kindness anymore, because you're forced. It's like
so technically it's moral kindness.
Yeah. Well, yeah, voluntary kindness.
Yeah, voluntary.
Yeah. So that's why I think like if you've accepted this idea that morally, your life comes second only to people's emergencies or needs, if they can have a claim on your property or your time or help anytime, I think the psychological manifestation of that is nothing but fear and hatred, because they are a threat to you. You're just looking over your shoulder every time, like hoping nothing someone else happens, because then it's your duty, right? Now, okay. Now, most people don't live their lives like that, right? They don't go around. I mean, I think most people probably accept the idea that it's a duty to help others, but they don't actually follow through with it. I think people are constantly battling that contradiction in their head, and they have a desire to live a good life for themselves and achieve what they want for themselves and for their loved ones. Helping like your wife and your daughter is a selfish thing, because they're your wife and your daughter. You love them; they're a value to you. You're not doing it out of a duty. You're doing it because you love them.
What about helping customers at work?
Well, that's your advantage,
your job.
Because you're getting money.
Your job, right? You're doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the thing.
What if it's
I think people are struggling with this inner contradiction all the time. And the problem is that I think living your life is hard enough by yourself. But then you have
you
this,
add to it.
this society places the extra pressure that you need in emergency situations to put the needs of others above your own. And it creates a huge problem in psychological terms.
You just
Um,
add. It's you're right. It's not needed, and technically, really, I don't think you should be in like sort of targeted if you are the type of person who's like, you know what, I have enough on my plate.
yeah,
I'm not going to be doing this.
but you see that happening all the time, by the way.
Well,
You
to be
see,
honest, it's much more noticeable now during this whole thing that
well, that's what I was going to say. That I thought about all this because I was thinking about the coronavirus, and the
uh,
coronavirus is the perfect example for this, uh, brainwave of mine, because it's we're in a situation where a few people are vulnerable, a few people, situation maybe is
hmm,
like serious, but
hmm,
yet all of society has had to take the hit on this,
yeah,
right? That like we have, because some people shouldn't be going out and some people might lose out because of that. Everyone should be locked out.
yeah,
And you see this in real life with socialism, that it's becoming a more and more popular um, ideology that people are holding.
mm,
And you even see it in welfare. Almost every Western country has a system where we don't care if he's an alcoholic or a druggie or a gambler who willfully lost all his money. We still need to help him and stop him from being homeless or whatever. We don't care the circumstances in which
mm,
he got. He could have
yeah,
been the most, vile human being making the worst choices ever,
yeah.
but yet it's a duty of ours to guarantee him a form of sustenance at the expense of everyone else.
Yeah, man, you know what? If we were having a guest, there was someone I would have like. If we could, I just invite someone directly on this right now, just to ask him a couple of questions. I'd love you to speak to Go because he kind of he would
But you're
have
gonna
some
have to
things to
repeat
say,
that
and it would
because
be very contradictory. Oh,
can you
sorry.
repeat that? Because just because for me it cut out while you were talking. So who is it that you were gonna invite?
No, I was saying that there is a story that happened to me a few years ago, and this person's opinion on your subject would have mattered a lot because, like, would have been very interesting. Because if I tell you the story, you'll understand sort of how to tie it in. But years ago, when I was working in Malta in HSBC, I had to do a lot of volunteer work. So once a year, now this was part of your employment, part of your contract that you had to every year do one certain activity with your team as volunteer work, and you could leave the call center. Most of the time, everyone saw it as super. It's a reason to not take calls and not be in the call center for the whole day. I'll get to leave home early. It's a great shift, and I'm doing a good thing. So it's a win-win. So sometimes you'd go to the dog pounds or the dog shelters or whatever and help them clean or whatever it is the case. And one of the times I went to the YMCA, right, in Malta.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why what I'm coming to and why it ties in with what you're saying. But when I was in the YMCA, we were helping them paint the whole facilities. That was, they were painting everything white, and they had already fixed beds and mattresses, etc., and blah blah. And there was one guy there who was sort of in charge. The and of the YMCA who was there and telling us everything they do to help people coming from abroad, like refugees and things like that. And, this guy was there and he's been working in the YMCA for 35 years. And he's there, he does his normal work outside the YMCA, he doesn't get paid by them, and he volunteers there. So he's been volunteering all his life from when he was a young kid,
Okay.
religious guy, etc. During my time there, the whole day, I'm not going to name him or anything, but during my time here in Malta, the whole day I was there, I can't tell you how many times he insulted refugees and immigrants, etc. And the reason he was angry is because he keeps doing the work. Like he got new mattresses, they got new bed, they got etc. And a lot of the time, these people who are unprivileged or who come from a place where this is even higher courtesy than what they're used to, just wreck the place. He's like, some days I came in and after painting the whole wall, they just threw shit on it. Other days I came in and some of the refugees. I'm not going to name countries, etc., because this isn't a racist thing at all. This is just people coming from unprivileged places and other people doing their moral duty of volunteering, but still continuing to do it. And I didn't understand that quite a lot. And he's like, look, at the end of the day, if I'm doing all these things, I'm not doing it for those assholes that are ruining this. I'm doing it for the general concept that there are some of them that don't do these things and appreciate everything we're doing for them. And those ones are correct. But it's not just with refugees, by the way, even with Maltese people that they were helping, like homeless Maltese people, etc. They were also as nasty with ruining the place that they were trying to build for those homeless people and refugees. Like they were as nasty as etc. And so he was telling me, like, look, I don't see it as those cases, but I'm telling you, there's loads that I fucking hate. If it was up to me, I'd send them back, or I'd leave them homeless or whatever, because they really don't deserve it. He's like, but those that appreciate it, yeah, I'm doing it for those.
Yeah, I mean, look, my main point wasn't that. My main point actually was that separating kindness from a sense of duty, and being kind can be a good and noble thing if it's done voluntarily and not out of guilt. That you want, you have extra time, you have extra money, you value someone and you want to help them. That's great, but it's if it's a moral duty that like ingrained in your psychology, whether you want to or not, that you feel guilty if you don't help someone. And that's what the problem I have, because you should never feel guilty. I mean, your life is yours to live, and your only sort of duty, maybe if any, is to leave others alone and let them get on with it, and you get on with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to help, that's fine, but you shouldn't feel guilty.
You know where the moral duty comes from, though, for most people? Probably
Christianity.
I was going to say religion in general.
Yeah, I agree. It's a problem.
Yeah. That's where it all comes from, and not just Christianity, but other religions as well. I'm sure they have their own.
I think, but even then, socialism doesn't really come from a religion, but it's still a doctrine that tells you, you have to live. You are your brother's keeper. You have to take care of everyone.
You know what I want to ask you? Yeah. Do you think, how like you feel good when you do something good? If you do something good and it works out for the person, you kind of feel something. You're like, oh, you know what, this is great. Sometimes though, people do things, and I'm wondering where on their list of doing something good it is, where I don't know if they get the same, I felt good about myself today. And I'll give you an example. On Facebook, right?
Yeah.
You know how they have, for example, when something happens, I don't know, some people die or an attack, etc. You have like the flag of the country, or let's say for the moment, we support the nurses, and you change your profile pic to have we support the those things like where people feel like they've done something good, like by changing their profile pic. There is zero feeling about that, but people still do it.
Yeah.
This is only because they want to be seen like, you know what, I need my friends to know that I support the troops. Or, you know what I mean? But you're not getting anything out of it. There's no good that's coming out of this.
So the way I see that is people are trying to get an unearned respect, an unearned admiration. They think they could just buy it, right? You can't buy respect, you can't buy love, you can't buy... even happiness and all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to do that. They're trying to say, you know what, if I give a bit of money, I can get people to respect me, think I'm great. But that's not how it works. Actually, in fact, when I see that, I lose respect for people, because I know they're just doing it as a
and don't get me wrong, even I mean, to the extent, right? if you donate money and it's your money, and you said, you know what, like for example, Muslims do during Ramadan the zakat, different people do at different times, whatever. Donating actual physical money that's yours and giving it to someone else, there's still that feeling as well. You know what? I did something right. Even if you donate clothes or donate whatever, furniture, but you feel like you did.
Yeah.
But then if someone's like, listen, we're getting married, we don't want anything, but whatever you were going to give us, give it to the poor. Or if it's our birthday, it's my birthday, donate to this thingy. So number one, you're asking me to give my money to something maybe that is less important than other things. So you're not telling me just donate my money somewhere that feels really important for me. You're telling me specifically to your cause. That's And number two, it should, like, you haven't donated. You're asking other people to do it. So what gratitude are you getting out of this? Because I'm getting a gratitude. I'm feeling good about myself. How good are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, people are very pretentious, and they try and get brownie points for things like that,
And you know what? After their birthday, a few months from now, people will be talking about all these whatever disasters, like, I don't know, the Australian fires or something. And they'll be like, you know how much I donated last year? 5,000. It's like, no, you didn't. 5,000 friends of yours donated €1 each. That's it.
I haven't even seen people do that. Okay. Anyway.
But yeah.
Moving on. You're getting I hear you're trying to build your own PC, right?
Yeah, man, that's...
And I think one of the recommendations was to get a VR headset.
No, I'm not getting one.
I mean, think about all the porn.
Yeah. No, it's great. Porn on the VR is insane. I've never seen anything like it. But I didn't
Is it
even
any
have
good? Have you tried it?
Yeah, I was working for a media company. I won't mention names, just, And one of my work colleagues bought a VR headset, and he's like, listen, Mark, you have to try this. And he put on a couple of games in the beginning, and it was like, yeah, cool, it's not that well rendered, and it's okay, And then he's like, okay, you have to check this out. And then he put VR porn, and it was insane. Like, you go in, like, the one he put, but was basically, you had a controller, and you basically go into a big, large apartment, and there's different rooms, and you open the door on each room, and every room you go to, something's going on.
Oh, nice.
Different.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't like just a video, and I could look around.
So you're watching, right?
I was watching, yeah, anywhere I wanted to go in the house, upstairs, downstairs.
Can you not get involved in some way?
I mean, I don't know. It was enough to watch, and I was at work, and customers and everything. So although I was watching and listening, it wasn't really the right scenario.
I'm wondering if, like, you could. I'm wondering if you can get accessories, right? Like something like, say, akin to a blow-up doll. And it looks exactly like in the game, and then it's just physical thing. So you're actually doing it, but then you see in the VR thing what you want to see.
No, but you know what? I think they can take it where they can take it for sure is doing the live cams in VR, and then I don't know if this exists. I don't think they do. But then this way, rather than or speaking to someone, it'll be like VR live cam. You do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do, and it would look like this is happening.
All right, let me ask you this question then. Let's say in the future, right, when like VR is so advanced that it's maybe it's two contact lenses in your eyes, and no one can tell that you're wearing them, right? And then you're getting down and dirty with your missus, right? and just for fun, you decide, you know what? Let me convert her into like
Mariah Carey of the 90s.
Yeah, or Pamela Anderson of the 90s. And then you're doing your thing. Is that cheating?
Technically, no. Technically.
Why not? Because you haven't physically.
You haven't been with someone else.
All right. What about psychologically?
I mean, it's as much. I think it's all down to what kind of person you're dating, because I realized, that there are some women that think if you watch porn, you're cheating.
Yeah,
and then there are some women that are
Yeah.
like, you know what, I don't relate this to that, because, it's like, this is as much as a movie. It's nothing, it's nothing more than that. There's no connection. There's no intimacy. There's no feeling. There's no sharing anything. There's nothing else, So again, it depends on what kind of person your partner is, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Well,
Yeah.
I agree that different partners will take it differently.
Black Mirror has a great episode on that, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a VR thing, and basically him and his friend are like playing this fighting game in VR, and his friend's a female in the VR thing, and him and his friend basically fall in love in the game. It's weird.
And they're both male in real life, right?
Yeah, and they try to kiss each other in real life, and they're like, nah, I ain't gay, I'm straight. I'm just in love with a VR lady.
Yeah, I found that very interesting, actually.
Yeah, because it just shows you as well that, like, just because you're heterosexual, homosexual, doesn't mean the person you will actually have the deepest connection with isn't from the other sex. You could be attracted sexually to females, but you could have a way deeper connection with someone who's a male, who's the same gender as you.
So maybe it's more like separating the physical attractiveness from the personality. So in that episode, they both first were physically attracted to each other, I guess, right? Because they're hot video game characters.
Yeah.
And they loved each other's personalities.
Because they were friends.
So that's what separates a romantic relationship from a normal relationship, is that you're adding the sex element into it, or the attractiveness. Yeah. So I could love you as much as my girlfriend or even more, but I'm not physically attracted to you, so it can never be romantic.
I've tried, guys. I've tried for many years, but I get shut down every time.
In there.
By the way, bro, I was watching Beauty and the Beast. I watched both of them yesterday. Okay. The cartoon with Layla, and then the movie out of curiosity in the background while doing some stuff on the laptop. But I realized one thing is that if you translate this into a normal story of today, right? Basically, this guy gets kidnapped. This is the story. The guy gets kidnapped, right? His daughter finds her dad. The daughter of this guy finds him, asks the Beast to please let her dad go. And he's like, listen, you stay here for life, and I'll let your dad go. She's like, okay, I'll stay here for life. Kidnaps her, right? Then, put it this way, there's zero, like, they hate each other from the time he kidnapped her. The Beast is abusive, swears, screams. There's nothing good in that relationship, right? And all of a sudden, they have a big argument or whatever, and she runs away, and she gets attacked by wolves. And he comes over, and he's like, the wolves attack him, and he beats the wolves up, and the wolves run away, and he's hurt. And guess what she does? Does she continue to run away and go save her dad? No. She saves him and be like, you know what? Let me save the guy who kidnapped me, almost killed my dad, and domestic abused me during my whole time here. And she saved him. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, we have so much in common. You like to scream? I like it. I like to get screamed at. Like, what the fuck? Why are they teaching those kids?
You know what? Your assessment is 100% accurate. I mean, Why did she fall for him? I mean, first of all, he's ugly, right? He's a beast. Yeah. And he hasn't treated her right in any way.
Nothing. Like, I'm all for, like, looks don't matter as well, but yeah, at least be nice. Usually, people with not great looks, they have the personality really going for them.
That's right. He had neither. And he forcibly, like, locked her up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, there's so many times as well that he snapped where she did nothing wrong. And the funny part as well is that they finally, like, when they did hit it, like, oh, you read, I read. It was after he dissed her book. So he's like, what are you reading? And she's like, this. He's like, this is the shittest book in the world. Come in my library where I have books in Greek. She's like, oh, you read? And he's like, yeah. And that's when they hit it off. And reading is a really antisocial type of thing, because when you think about it, most people read, they don't like to talk after they finish. I don't know. I personally, when I read books, I don't necessarily like to force them on people.
I guess in some ways it's consistent with what women tend to do, and they go after the bad boy, because women don't.
Exactly.
For some reason, they don't like. They want to be treated nice, but then when they're treated nice, they don't like it. They like.
Yeah.
So maybe in that sense, it shows a naturalistic view of what actually goes on right now.
Wait, maybe Beauty and the Beast has been the inspiration to all these women in our childhood wanting the bad boy. Maybe it was like, you know what? He's not very beastie. He's much more like a clock in Beauty and the Beast. He's like, he's just a candle holder. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't read or watched 50 Shades of Grey, but I have an idea of what the story is about because my sister read all the books, and she, I would ask her questions about it, and from what I understood, there was nothing. I mean, the guy was rich, right? But other than that, there was nothing about him that made me feel like he was a hero in any way. Like he used her as not a sex slave, because they entered a contract where she would do what he wanted. So it wasn't a slave, but he made her sign a contract where he could beat her up and have sex with her at the same time. He had like mommy issues, and it's all around psychological issues.
But there was nothing sexy about it, really, when you think about it. The way you describe it.
No, they're. I mean, I don't know if like someone who actually read the book can romanticize it a bit more, but nothing about the character made me feel like he was a hero that he sees the day. I mean, again, what I guess the women like about the book is that he changed for her in the end, all that kind of stuff. But I still don't see that as like overall that he's an admirable person. That a hero is someone who has strong values and like knows right from wrong, and not someone that you have to change in order for him to be a perfect guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm wondering now that you're saying this as well, and maybe I kind of a bit slightly drift, but I wonder if like for women, porn still has to have a bit of an emotional thing in the actual porn. You know what I mean? Like for us, it's definitely what she looks like, or whatever. If you're gay, what he looks like. Look, size, situation. Did he deliver a pizza or did he just fix her pipes? You know what I mean? What is it? Just give us this. We don't need more than that. But maybe because of that, because of the way you're saying it, potentially that they might need a bit more of an emotional part of the story.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know. I don't know whether women watch porn anyway. Like, I'm unsure about that, right? I mean, they some of them say they do, some of them say they don't. I'm sure there are women who watch porn. I don't know why they watch it. I don't know if they, again, it's physical urges or they have an emotional urge. I just know what men's experience with porn is, and it seems overwhelmingly to be similar. But yeah, maybe we get a guest on soon, a female guest, and ask her about Well, anyway, I mean, it's been another very insightful and funny conversation.
Yeah.
I look forward to the next one. So, for the Joker, I'm the thinker. Until next time.